Hey, you are tuned in to broadcast by MM4H Missions, MM4H Missions. And I didn't even have time. I didn't even pay attention to change the title of my name. I got way too many titles, y'all. That's why I'm be bothered with them. Listen, I'm Lexi Johnson. Okay. That's it. Child of God. That's it. Listen, we have been talking about the dark side of missions, and I've been trying to come to you all kind of like at 7:30 in the evening. But listen, y'all, life be lifing. But even though life be lifing, God be Godding. I saw somebody post that a while ago, weeks ago, and I liked it because it's the truth, right? Yes, life is always going on, but God is on the throne. He sees and knows all. So anyway, we have been talking about the dark side of missions. The last time that I came to you all, which was not yesterday, that was Tuesday, but it was Monday evening. We talked about exploitation, and we talked about, the fees, and then we talked about dependency. And so today I wanted to talk just a little bit deeper about dependency, because I really want to share with you all, the depths of or all of the repercussions that dependency causes, right? So let's get right into it. I'm going to share, if I have time, maybe about 10 things that I thought of here about financial dependency and how it's unhealthy in ministry work, right? And this is also why people may have a negative perception of missions, particularly short-term missions, right? Because people are wanting to know what change are we actually affecting? How are these people being changed? So, number one, right? Dependency on a continuous stream of money for these churches and their projects means that that a system has been set up that is not sustainable locally, right? I remember that I've been telling you all over the last few broadcasts that we've done is that what MM4H is trying to do is to make sure that whatever we go and do, that it is sustainable beyond our help, right? Because again, we are there only for, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then we're out of there, right? And so a lot of times what ends up happening is the community or the church or the organization or whatever becomes dependent. They want this continuous stream, right? So now the organization that came and served goes back home, and they may feel a need to continue to donate over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And again, that does not help that community to set up something that is sustainable by them, right? Because let's face it, the missions organizations, the charitable organizations, the individuals, listen, everybody is not infinitely, reproducible. Everybody is not, things happen economically, right? And so there may be times when an organization can give, and maybe times when organization cannot give. So some organizations are a lot smaller and can't really, sustain something like that themselves, right? So we have to be thinking about that. Number two, I believe that dependency ushers the recipients into thinking that kingdom outreach is dependent on the generosity of overseas. Like whatever they're trying to do, that they are dependent, they begin to think that we can only depend on monies from overseas. So because I live in the US, I know that oftentimes when we have gone overseas, and listen, I also have family that lives overseas. My family is from Honduras. And so we see this, this mindset even in family members sometimes, where they think because you live in the United States, your money is endless. Okay. And that's just not the case. Okay. That's just not the case, right? People work very, very hard for the monies that they have and give. And so, and it's not endless. Okay. So outreach, um, in these various other areas, they also have to understand that they cannot be dependent on funds overseas, right? They have to find a way to figure out how to make it work in their local areas. Listen, the Bible, hey mom, how are you? The Bible is no respecter of persons or no respecter of certain communities. There are certain rules, certain provisions that the Bible makes, and the Bible says, if you do these things, right, then these are the blessings that come along with doing those things. And so it's the same, if a community wants provision, if a community wants money, health, all of these great things, the Bible has answers, and it tells us exactly what we need to do in order to make sure that we have that. All right, number 3, I don't want to talk too long on each of these. So if these communities or recipients are dependent on foreign people giving money all of the time, then they miss out on the joy of giving. I did on our Kingdom Disciples Training Center channel, I did a series on the ministry of giving, and we are all called to give. Okay. Sometimes we can receive, and sometimes we're the givers. And the Bible speaks a whole lot about about giving and how kingdom citizens are expected to give, and the rewards and the results of giving. And so if we enable a community to become dependent on funds coming in, right, from these mission organizations all the time, then we actually rob them of the joy of them being able to give and to give sacrificially. Okay. Because giving is one of the ways in which God provides. Okay. Now, there's a bunch of scriptures on that. I don't have time for it, but you can Google scriptures on giving. Okay. Promises for giving in God's kingdom. Google something like that. Those scriptures are going to come up. Sometimes in a local community, okay, that a mission organization like ours or anyone else's may give to, sometimes that local congregation or organization or whatever that is supported by a foreign organization like ours can lose credibility in the eyes of their local community. Okay. So, and we all have, heard this said, oh, now you're bought by whoever, right? This organization in the United States, and you're only going to be concerned about what they want for the community because you're accepting their money, right? So, we don't want to subject the community to that either. Number 5, dependency creates entitlement. And I have had this experience. It's like the more that you give, the more and more and more that is expected, and the more and more and more that is asked. Like it just never is satisfying what you give. Okay. I'm not saying this about all the communities that we have served, because that's not the case, but we have run into this, right? The more and more you give, the more and more is asked. Okay. 6, sometimes this dependency leads the organization that's giving. Okay, so let's say, for example, MM4H, although this would it is not us, like organizations like ours, it leads these organizations to think of themselves as more powerful instead of being servants. This is why at MM4H um, we don't just go for the sake of going, right? We have to be requested, number one. So we're not just going to walk into your area and say, hey, we're coming and we're coming to do this. No, we have to be requested. Okay. Second, we're always asking them, what do they feel their community needs? With the understanding, of course, that we want to do things that are sustainable. But that prevents us from having this attitude of, oh, we are all powerful. We're coming in to, do whatever what we want to do, right? No, we're coming in to serve. And so when we train our missionaries at MM4H, from the very beginning of the training, that is the message. We are going to serve. We are not better than, we don't know any better than they do. Nothing like that, but we are going to serve. Okay. So sometimes that can happen. An organization starts to think that they're powerful and they're the saviors, right? And that's not the case. There's only one savior. All right. Jealousy can raise its head too. So that has to be mindful because it can actually break up a community. So you have to be mindful of that too. And though this is, now I'm going into number 7, though it seems like oxymoronic, I guess, dependency can even conjure up resentment or disdain for the ones who are actually giving. Now, can I say that we've experienced that too? I really hate to say that, but we've experienced that too. And again, not with everybody, okay? The majority of the missions that we have gone on we have had great experiences, but we have had it where we give and then we find out that there is this disdain or this resentment or this dislike because, again, we never seem to be giving enough, right? There's this thought that they could have given more than what they gave, right? So that's why you have to watch out for, that we're not enabling dependency as well, right? So again, if you go in as the missions organization, company or individual that is going in, the individual missionary that is going in, if you go in with, hey, we want to make sure that what we're doing is sustainable, then that will, then from the beginning, they already know, like, hey, we're giving up to a certain amount. And then you've got to figure out how you're going to maintain this after we're gone, right? Dependency. Okay. Dependency also breeds temptation to borrow or embezzle. Okay. So you don't want there to be the temptation for that as well. And so at MM4H, we try to put things in place so that it prevents that, right? Because people are human. I don't come down really hard, but people are human, right? Sometimes when you're dealing with lots of money, and maybe you haven't dealt with lots of money before, it can be tempting on either end, right? So measures are put in place to make sure that those things do not happen. So making sure that there is a paper trail, making sure that any on our end, this is how we do it. We make sure that there's a paper trail. We make sure that there's receipts. We make sure that if there are any contracts and things that need to be signed, that they should be discussed, must be discussed first. Then there's agreement on who is signing contracts, right? And then how the money is going to be funneled. Does it go to the recipient for the recipient to give to the vendor? Is it going straight to the vendor? All those processes need to be ironed out. So that one, keep your books in order. But two, again, that temptation to borrow or embezzle is not there. And there should always be accountability, right? Like there should not be, you should have, more than one person who is aware of what is going on. So my team lead, they have access to the budget. If they want to see bank accounts, they can see that. Like there shouldn't be, just one person who just, and no one else can ever see anything. That's not the way it should go. That's a problem if that is the case, right? Even our missionaries, if they want to see who donated on their behalf, they should be, they can get a printout of all of that. But even our missionaries, actually, every time a donation comes in on their behalf, if someone donates, because the donor gets to select what missionary they're supporting, and then they let us know whether it's to offset the missionary's costs or whether it's going towards the project. And when it's going towards the project, in either case, the missionary then is notified that they've received a donation, because I will send a copy of that receipt to them immediately, right? So they know so now they got the individual receipts. And if they don't have that, they can always request a printout of who their donors are and how much has been given. So they get the individual receipts, they can track along the way, or they can request a printout at any time, right? So there should be that transparency so that there isn't any embezzling of funds on either side, right? Because sometimes you think, okay, I'm just going to send money to the recipients and they can do whatever they need to do, right? I'm like, nope, I need copies of, whomever let's say it's catering, right? Who's catering? We need a copy of their proposal, how much it's going to cost, how they're collecting money, all that kind of stuff. And then even if the money is going to the recipient first, or the recipient being for us being the people who are coordinating on that end in that country, even if the money is going to them, right? It goes and let's say it's $1,000, right? I'm sending $1,000 for catering. And it's been sent on this date, and of course you have the transaction receipt and all of that, right? So now no one can say, no, monies were not sent for this. Well, yes, they were. Here's the transaction receipt. Here is what was in the memo, what this $1,000 was for, the date that it was sent, the time it was sent, all of that, right? So these are some things that, we just have to pay attention to, okay? So that, again, on either side, there isn't this temptation. I think anything else that I'm going to say might be just kind of a little repetitive of what I've already said. I know I said something like 10 and I put some 10 down in my notes, but I think these last 3 or so are repetitive of something that I've already said. So I'm not going to do that. All right. So that is the dark side of missions, right? Or how missions can go to the dark side. And so we don't want that. So at MM4H, we make sure that we have all of these, these systems and processes in place to make sure that everything is on the up and up. So that's all that I want to share with you all tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with another session on the dark side of missions. And if you want to donate to support our mission trip to Botswana in August, the links are in the description. You can donate as an individual, or if you have a business and you want to sponsor, you can do that as well. And that link is in the description as well. Okay. We appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. You guys have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.